Okay, haven't seen the guys in a few days playing on Friday night, so they've had a couple days off. Back at it today with our prep for UCLA, first conference game. Last week felt good about the way we played from the first play to the last with intensity. Got a lot of guys involved, which was a positive. Cut down the penalties overall. And one on offense, protected quarterback better. Defense, result was good, but not totally clean. We had some things in the back end that against a good team would get exposed. So got to clean that up and ready for a tough contest Saturday.
All right, Zach, your left is Zach.
Yeah, Curt, in terms of UCLA and scouting them, Malloy, their defensive coordinator, said he was going to keep the same system they used last year. Is that what you saw kind of on the film against Hawaii? And then how have you gone about scouting Bieniemy? Hasn't been in college in over a decade.
Right, yeah. So, UCLA, a lot of tradition there, 3 straight years of bowl games, 25 wins the last 3 years. You look at us, 9 wins the last 3 years, going on the road. We're favored, which doesn't mean anything. So I'm sure that coming off their opener, they weren't feeling they were happy they won, but probably not pleased with the way they played overall. They did go in shorthanded, minus 2 offensive tackles. But, good program like that, I'm sure they have something to prove. In terms of your question more specifically, the new defensive coordinator was on staff last year. The package is the same with some tweaks, a little more pressure perhaps, and it's really hard to gauge because Hawaii did not use a tight end in the game. It was all spread out, 4 wide receiver sets, so we don't have a lot to go on there. Obviously, an opponent like this, you have all their games from last year, which we've watched during the cut-ups. And so the faces have changed. Schematically, expect it to be more similar than different. Offensively, new offensive coordinator came from the NFL, obviously. So you've got 1 game to go on there. But what I would say about them overall is a lot of really good athletes, a lot of pretty guys. Really good team speed, and they got a couple guys up front on the D line, 93 in particular, he's a big guy with explosion, and backers are very athletic. Offensively, the receiving group is highly skilled. The Notre Dame kid had 10 catches, and of course, it all starts with the quarterback. He can really wing it, and he's mobile. And he's a very talented guy. So this is a talented football team.
Zach, and your left is Matt.
I guess kind of following on the question of preparing for a team, what are the advantages and disadvantages in your mind of maybe having played 2 games as opposed to 1 at this point early in the season, a little bit more on film of you, but also more time on task for you compared to a team like UCLA that's only played 1 game and then had the week
I
off?
think you hit it on the head. Having 2 games under your belt's beneficial in terms of your team development. In terms of the tape, maybe, they've got some more relevant stuff to look at from us than we have of them.
Matt, row 2, Todd.
Coach, I get obviously the opponent, but after going back and watching Curtis and even Taven, I know he didn't get a ton of snaps, but just overall, how'd you feel about how those 2 guys played after watching them on the film and grading them?
Yeah, I think Curtis had the opportunity to, make his drop, make his reads, and deliver the ball, which he didn't always have that opportunity in the first game. I thought our protection, we cleaned that up significantly. And if you want to play good quarterback, you got to have protection. And we separated on the outside, and he delivered the ball, and he played well. Wasn't perfect, but he played well. And what I really liked was you could see kind of the cohesiveness of the team on both sides. Guys cheering each other on, congratulating each other, him taking charge, and it was great to get a lot of guys involved. Taven came in. I thought he played nicely. delivered the ball, ran it too. And so he should feel good about his outing coming out of that game.
Todd on your left and Zach.
Curt, you've coached in the Rose Bowl, I believe, once with Alabama.
Right.
What does it mean for you to go to that building and for a place that's kind of hallowed ground for fans of the traditional Big Ten schools? How do you kind of enjoy going to these iconic college football arenas?
Well, I mean, the Rose Bowl has a lot of tradition. People that follow football. For me and the team, it's more of a business trip, whether we're playing in the Rose Bowl or in a parking lot. It's all the same. Our preparation has to be excellent. Starting today, string together a good sequence of nows and prepare to the best of our abilities so to give ourselves the best chance. And it's going to be a little longer trip out there, bus to Indianapolis, fly out of there into LA, about an hour to the hotel. A little bit of a time change, but it's no big deal. The venue has never really played a big part in it from a coaching standpoint, and we're looking forward to playing.
Seth on your right to Jack.
Yeah, Curt, just how would you assess the way your offensive line has played for the first 2 weeks overall as you head into your first Big Ten game, especially in the run game where you've had so much success on the ground so far?
Yeah, well, I think those guys are working hard and they're developing. I don't know that we were really tested last week. And against Florida International, we ran the ball well. Wasn't real pleased with some of the protection issues we had. We'll be tested this week like we have not been tested.
Jack in front and Pete.
Hey, Curt, what do you feel like has allowed defensively Coach Haynes to kind of translate a lot of the identity that he had at James Madison in terms of the strong run defense and tackles for loss, things like that, translate that to Indiana?
I think it's a culture, a mindset, an identity, and a philosophy. The program culture and mindset that we're an attacking type of team, relentless competitor, playing fast and physical, one play at a time. And then our style of defense is, we want to turn those guys loose up front and wreak havoc and disruption. And we've got pretty good speed at linebacker, where guys can fit the gaps and cover. So his defense keeps you off balance. He's going to find ways to create TFLs and sacks and free guys up or get them good matchups. And we've got some good players over there.
Pete, go to the game.
Coach Curt, what are you seeing from Anderson Kobe? And obviously he had a nice touchdown reception there. And what do you need to see from him?
Yeah, he's a speed guy. Had a couple opportunities in the opener. One time we didn't throw it to him. One time ball was just slightly underthrown. He had our first touchdown, and so he's got definitely has a role improving every day. And it's a deep receiving core, and we try to use those guys, in a way that helps us reach optimum success.
Daniel in front of Zach.
Yeah, there's probably only so much that you can glean from spring, summer, fall, from an ethos, point. I'm wondering what you've learned, what you like and maybe haven't liked so far. Again, ethos so far here.
I think we've come a long way. I felt that way before the opener, but we had to put it on tape. But I've said that numerous times in these conferences. So I liked the way we started in the opener. I didn't like the way we finished offensively. I thought defense we were pretty solid other than the last drive of the first half. Last week I liked the fact that we played a team that we were obviously better than, a team that was struggling, but we took it to them from the get-go and kept the pedal to the metal to the end. And when I say pedal to the metal, we weren't laying it on. We weren't throwing the ball over the place. We ran it over 70% of the time. But we played with intensity throughout the game and energy.
Zach in front and Jim.
You mentioned that you personally, the venue doesn't necessarily matter for you and your team, but when you're dealing with guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, how do you keep them in check, keep them when you get there to the venue, to the site? How do you keep them mentally engaged on the game itself?
That's a big part of my job, to make sure that we eliminate the noise and the clutter and everybody understand why we're there. The guys that make that trip will understand that.
Jim, row 2, middle.
Coach, I know that you don't put a lot of importance on venues and all that, like you just said, but this is the first conference game against one of the new opponents, also in this historic venue. There has to be some importance for your team to go out and perform well in this week.
Well, yeah, because it's the next game up. Every game's the most important game. You guys can write your stories and your angles on how important X game is relative to Y game, but they all count as one game. And it's the first conference game. So we're excited about that, and we want to get off to a good start.
Zach on your left and Joe.
Curt, I guess broadly speaking, at least in what we've seen on game days, it seems like these first couple weeks you've gotten through fairly healthy. Just kind of, where's Donovan? Has anybody else picked up something that's a medium or long-term concern for you injury-wise?
Yeah, I mean, every game you get guys nicked up a little bit, so right now it's too early to say where we're at. And, you know, I don't make a habit of talking about injuries. We do have to turn in an injury report to the Big Ten office before the game, which we will. So we'll see who's out there today and how we look.
Joe on your right, then Niz.
Coach, Ethan Garber's a UCLA, pretty dual threat guy, pretty mobile with his legs. What are your expectations for Aiden and really the defensive unit as a whole to kind of contain him?
Well, the defense, you know, because Aiden's just one of 11 guys on the defense. So, number one, you always got to stop the run, and then you got to pressure the quarterback. And with this guy, we got to keep him in the pocket. Can't let him get out of the pocket and extend plays, because he's extremely capable with his arm and his legs, and he's got weapons on the outside, so we've got to do a good job of coverage. So, it all starts up front with the run game, and then putting the pressure on the quarterback in the pass game and disrupting his rhythm.
Niz on your left, last one.
Yeah, with the secondary, you kind of mentioned, cleaning up some stuff on the back end. Is it communication? Is it, you've kind of played that first team group together, throughout the, when the games have been competitive. What have you seen? What do you need to see from that group in the secondary?
Well, again, we got away with most of the things except one time or twice in this past game, but there were 4 or 5 other things, that could potentially have been a real problem. And, it starts with recognition, communication, then assignment, and playing your assignment and doing your job. And the situations that I mentioned were sort of a combination of all those.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.